So today we're doing something a little bit different. I still have some garage setup that we're gonna be doing. So like that cool overhead camera shot that you guys just saw, I mean, obviously there's no mount here. I had Melanie holding the camera for me. So we're gonna build a mount today. I went to Home Depot, spent about 40 bucks to make one of these mounts. Now, if you're a photographer, videographer, anyone else like me who does like at-home stuff and you want those cool like straight down camera angles, you could build one for about 40 bucks like I'm doing, or you could buy one on Amazon, B&H Photo, or all these other like camera places for $150, $200. And like I told you guys, when it comes to anything that is not car related, I am cheap. I'll kind of give you guys a breakdown of how I'm envisioning this and seeing this happening here. Kind of what I'm envisioning here is this is the bench, obviously. We're gonna be mounting this guy to the back side of the bench back here. It's gonna come up like up here somewhere, come out towards us, and then the camera will essentially face down like that to give us that nice cool angle. So that way whenever I'm going over parts or anything like that with you guys, I can kind of walk you through it in a good manner on the bench that is easy to view, easy to see, and easy to talk about. So this guy's gonna mount to the back side. These bolts here are gonna run through this. We're gonna cut some of this like tubing to act as a spacer essentially, and then that's gonna bolt up to this steel that we're gonna measure, and we're gonna cut and everything like that. So ideally I wanna have one of the bolts coming up, one coming down with the camera plate in the middle, so that way it gives like some good rigidity to it, so that way the camera's not gonna like fall on us or anything like that, because that's the last thing we want. We do not want this DSLR to break. So I have the camera plate in the STI. We'll grab that when it comes time. But first, let's get these bolts measured to see how like long we need to cut these, because it's got to be able to run through this, have enough bolt on the backside to be able to bolt it down. So let's take some measurements. We'll take the width of the desk measurement to see like where we want to place that long bar to come up. But I don't know, something different. I needed to do it anyways to get the garage still going. I still need to get some sound panels for like up here just to help with the echo a little bit more. But step one, let's build a camera mount. So first things first, because we don't have the overhead camera mount, this is kind of the angle that we're gonna have to do things from for this video, but everything past this should be good. So I'm gonna be using a set of calipers. You can also use a set of tape measures or whatever you have as a measuring device. Personally, I like calipers. I've had these Minitoyos for a couple of years now. They get the job done pretty well. So first things first, we need to measure the bolt length on this to know how far we need to cut this to make the spacer that we need. So essentially, I need to up drill this hole first. Now we should be able to fit that guy through, and we can. So now that we can fit that guy through, we need to measure the distance from the end of the bolt with a nut on it. Where'd I put the nut? So we want the nut to be able to grab onto it a decent amount. I'd say about right there. 85.7. So what the game plan here is we went ahead, we up drilled one of these holes to 3/8, same size as this bolt. Now the bolt can pass through, and I went ahead, I threaded one of the nuts on the end of it, so that way I could measure the distance between the actual rod itself and the nut, which comes out to about 85.7 millimeters in length here. So we're gonna need to go ahead and cut two 85.7 millimeter length spacers off of this guy, so that way we're able to use them as sleeves on here, and that gives us enough room to be able to tighten this down with the thickness of the 16 gauge steel plating that we're going to end up using. So let me get the piping thrown up in this vise. We'll measure 85.7 millimeters like we have on here. That way we can use that as our spacer to be able to push this out far enough so that way it comes off the bench. This is the steel that we're going to be using. This is the camera plate. So on the back side of it, you see that little nub that's sticking out. I'm going to have to cut that off because the two mounting holes for this are both right there. They're both countersunk, so we're going to have to dig through the bolt box. I might drill another hole over here on the left side of this to be able to mount it to this. But we are going to figure out location mounting for it on this. So double check these. That is good. This guy, I'm thinking it's not gonna sit out very far. So the kind of game plan here is something like that with the steel plate going back. So I think just looking at it, it sits pretty flush in between those two there. So I think I'm gonna take a measurement from this front one to this one right here, leaving that 2 space for that guy to be able to kind of bloop boop, sit right up in there, no problem. So we're gonna go off a measurement from here, center of the hole. Actually, no, we're gonna go top. We're gonna go very top to give us a little extra steel. So we're gonna go from the very top of that one, skip that one here, and then we're gonna go halfway between these two holes here, and we're gonna take that measurement. And that's how far we're gonna cut down on this. Now, width-wise, I'm not quite sure yet, but right now we have our length measurement. So let's go ahead and measure the length on this, get it situated to be cut up on here, so that way we can kind of get all this situation figured out. But so far so good. We have our collars made. We have a game plan here. We are going to be using this Rust-Oleum DTM gloss black paint. It should match the toolbox relatively nicely and symmetrically, I guess. Well, not symmetrically, but color-wise, you know what I mean. So let me get the measurements taken on that thing. Once I get the measurements kind of figured out, I'll walk you guys through the process of how I'm doing this. But so far, we're making progress. So with our first piece of metal cut, we now have the length needed for what we're doing. Now for the width of this, I'm not entirely sure what we're gonna go with quite yet. So I know that the camera mounting plate is somewhere on the bench. There it is. So the camera mounting plate is about yay big, and it's gonna mount to that steel plating somewhat like that. And then the plate will mount up behind it, so that way we can get the camera mounted up here. So I think I'm going to first drill the holes needed for this, so that way we can go ahead, get the steel plate mounted up to where we want location-wise on this guy. So I'm gonna throw a clamp on it, get some holes drilled, get a punch and punch out where we're gonna start drilling, and then we'll get that done. We'll get the plate mounted up, and then we will trim off the excess on this steel plate here. Check it out. So I wish I would have gone a little bit longer with the spacers up here, but overall pretty happy with it. We need to locate on the camera mounting bracket now. I might do another one of these on the other side if I feel like it is unstable, but honestly, like, that thing's gonna support some weight once we get it on there. So let me get the camera plate mounted up on this guy. We'll get it test fit, and then we'll get it thrown up on the bench, but pretty happy with the way that this has come out for like 30, 35 bucks. All right, so I got the mounting situation kind of figured out. So I had to like self countersink the holes in this old camera bracket that I had, but it's going to work out actually pretty well. So like I said, I had to like self countersink those. Now I found these old Hellahorn brackets also, which I think can serve as a second purpose. So if I put the Hellahorn brackets underneath of the camera mount and I bolt them through this plate, I feel like that'll act as a secondary stop for this to make sure that that doesn't fall anywhere, because the only holes in this are these two right here. I can't put any in those side holes down there because I need the other camera plate to slide into it, but I think this is gonna work out. I think it's gonna work out pretty well. I have like that portion of it disassembled. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get these two countersunk holes put in there. After I get this plate mounting to this plate, I'm gonna get the holes drilled for this, and we'll bolt these to that also. And then we can start painting all of this for our awesome overhead camera mount, because this whole like looking back here thing while I'm working on the bench sucks. Like, we want this. That is what we want. Not this. So let me get these holes kind of drilled up over here and get this guy mounted. I found just some old hardware laying around. I'm gonna use some crush washers, some standard washers, some Allen key bolts. They're a little bit of a different length, but they should be fine. Yo, this came out better than I thought. So we have the camera plate mounted up top. I might cut out like a finger hole for this, but this little knob is what releases the plate here. And then underneath of the plate, these are the holes that I countersunk for that camera plate that bolt up to this. I also use some old Hellahorn brackets as supports for under it just to make sure it can hold the load. These guys are torqued down right now. I need to strip all this down so I can paint it, but I need to clean it with acetone prior to paint. But if you look on the bottom side also, like I used another Hellahorn bracket here to make sure that that plate wasn't going anywhere, and then 2 more bolts with crush washers to hold this plate down because this thing has to support the camera. Like the camera's pretty heavy, so hang on. Oh yeah, it'll work. It's not going anywhere. So I'm gonna strip this guy down to bare bones, clean all these parts with acetone, and then get them painted using that DTM gloss black paint. But oh, this thing's gonna look good when it's all done. So it is now the next day. I had to let this paint dry a lot longer than I thought I did, but it came out decent. The back side, it's questionable. The front side where everyone's gonna be seeing is not too bad though. So pretty happy with the outcome on this. I'm gonna get this mount assembled so that way we can start lining it up on the back of the bench, getting it mounted up to the bench, and then we'll take the camera, we'll test that out, and then hopefully we get some sick angles that are like from up here-ish, like hold up, like 2 hands, kind of like that. But I don't know. Let me get this guy assembled on this bench here and we'll see how it comes out. So it is built. So this is the end that's gonna mount to the back of the box back there. Super simple. Now up here, here's what I did. These 2 holes, we drilled those out up to 3/8. I ran 3/8 bolts through them with these spacers. Don't judge the painting. My painting skills are not the best, I'm not gonna lie. But our plate is mounted. This plate is not going anywhere at all. I use these old Hellahorn brackets that I had laying around the garage to just kind of support this a little bit more. But if you look on the back side here, so Hellahorn brackets are bracing these. I've got crush washers and bolts in there. Now for this camera plate, the way that I had to mount it to get it to work is I had to countersink these holes just with a drill bit that I had laying around the garage to be able to get these to like actually sink in there. Now I did crack the camera plate a little bit, but it should be good. So I'm gonna put the actual EOS R on here, hang it up, and well, I'm just gonna hold it up and see how it feels, see if it works. Okay, now I have no idea, but it seems to be holding. You look at that. Dope. All right, let me get this bracket mounted to the bench so that way we can have these awesome overhead camera shots, but pretty happy with this. It holds the camera. So I dug around my bolt box, found some bolts that'll work to mount this guy up. So it's going to be, I think this is 3/8 also, 3/8 bolt, washer, nut, same thing on both of these. I'm gonna do them 1 gap apart just to help provide a little bit of structural rigidity. I was just gonna do 1, then I thought about it, and if you just do 1 on here, it's making an axis of rotation, so then it could go left, right. So if there's 2 of them, it's not gonna go anywhere. But I need to get the STI, pulled out of the garage because it's just in the way right now. I need to open the top drawer of the toolbox to be able to pull the toolbox out a little bit, drill some holes, mount these guys up, and then we can actually give it a full test instead of me just holding the camera. But so far, I'm pretty happy with what we've done. For $35, that's a pretty good camera mount, like no complaints whatsoever. So honestly, it's not bad actually. This is actually a pretty good camera mount for what we're doing. It doesn't show too much behind here. If I have something pushed off in the back, I mean, I guess you'll see it. But we also have the bolt box up here now, so like you can see me open some drawers, which is kind of cool. But not a bad setup. I'm digging it. All right, you guys, so overall, not a bad camera setup at all for the workbench. Like I am pretty happy with this guy right here, especially for the price that I built it for $35. I'm not gonna complain. Like that gives us the shots that I need to be able to show you guys like from an overview head whenever I'm working on the bench to be able to get some of this stuff done. So better to save some money than it is to spend some, especially with everything that I've been purchasing lately. But the bench setup is pretty much done. Like we've got the bolt box, the overhead camera mount, the vise, the bench grinder. I've got like a speaker and a phone charger out here too. I also got the audio blanket kind of hung up behind here, so that way it's not like echoing as much whenever I'm talking to you guys right here. I do have some more sound paneling coming for up here, and then this back side to help a little bit better, but it's not super easy to turn a garage into a studio on a budget, but I'm doing what I can to make it work. I'm pretty happy with this. I need to go drive that turd because I haven't driven it in a couple days for all the moving and everything going on. It's been insanely hectic and insanely crazy, but I'm incredibly happy with the garage setup and how it's coming, especially with the workbench, the camera mounts that I'm building and everything like that. After I get the funds from the house, I'm gonna be buying some quick jacks for the garage. A lot of you guys are bringing those up saying that it's a good idea to grab, so I am going to snag some quick jacks as well because that is going to make life significantly easier when it comes to working on the cars out here. But overall, incredibly happy with it. So this was a little bit different style of a video. It was still in the garage, still doing stuff for the channel. It's just some more setup stuff that I had going on. I'm hoping here soon that we get back to our normal schedule of installs, topics, all that good stuff here. But before I can even do any of that, I have to get the workspace set up prior, but it's coming along. It's coming along great. So if you guys like the video, it's a little bit different of a style, go ahead, hit the like button. You know what to do. If you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be for some more DIY stuff kind of like that, if you guys want to see some more DIY stuff like that, just building things, let me know in the comments below because I do build stuff every now and then whenever I need to try to save money instead of buying it. But with that, that is all I got for you guys on this one. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so up in this corner. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies. Woo!